Okay, next item on our agenda is visitor statements, and before we do that, I need to read this. The Board of Education welcomes and encourages the participation of its citizens in the business of the school district. Thank you for your attendance. There are 2 points in the meeting where visitor statements are scheduled. Citizens are welcome to ask questions or make comment at either one. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. If a person would like additional time to address the board, such request should be submitted in writing 40 hours before the meeting to the superintendent. For more details, please refer to Board Policy 20:230, public participation at Board of Education meetings and petitions to the board. 2:30, I'm sorry.
2:30.
Man, the board had asked that we have some kind of clock, or so I have it on my iPad, and what I'll do is I'll kind of raise my hand when there's about 30 seconds so the community members know they have to wrap up.
Okay, so we're going to start over here first. Anybody would like to comment on this side of the room? Okay. And when you come up, please state your name and where you're from. And we don't bite. Okay.
Hi, I'm James Baum, and I'm from North Riverside. I wish to present my view to you tonight about the Fine Arts Survey. I took the course while I was here as a student, and I taught it, and I'm an RB community member. All 3 of these roles offer me a unique perspective that I hope you will take into consideration before you make any decisions about this graduation requirement. As a student of RB, my sights were set on music school, so I took as many music classes as I could. By the time I graduated, I had completed 9 year-long courses in music, including band, jazz band, and music theory. I put off taking Fine Arts Survey until my senior year with the hope of testing out of it so I could fit choir into my schedule. That never happened. I didn't want to take this course because I felt I knew enough about music and the other arts just weren't important. I was quite the music snob. It was much like my thoughts about having to take health. I didn't want to take either course because I felt I knew everything the class had to offer. Luckily, the wise adults of our school and the state built these requirements into our curriculum because they knew what was best for me, even if I thought I knew what was best for me. Fine Arts Survey changed my perspective of the other arts, and thus my perspective of the world around me. Not only did I learn about each discipline of art and how to think in that art form's way of knowing, but I learned how all the arts are interconnected, thus deepening my understanding of music. Each discipline of art provides humanity with a unique way of knowing the world. That's what makes Fine Arts Survey such a necessity for every student, even the students who have extensive backgrounds in one area or another. Learning in all 4 disciplines of the fine arts provides our students with 4 unique yet connected ways of knowing the world. I learned this as a student here at RB, and now I have the very good fortune of being able to teach this to our students now. It's as a teacher that the idea of presenting our students with a waiver is the most frightening to me. As I'm sure you all know, 47 states have adopted the new Common Core standards in English and math, and we will be receiving more in the near future, including Common Core standards in the fine arts. As I finished my master's this year at Northwestern, I had the opportunity to discuss the current thoughts going into the Common Core for the fine arts with Dr. Janet Barrett, a world-renowned music researcher and music education professor, and someone who has friends at the table where the new standards are being written. Before I tell you what she said about the new standards, please understand that they are extensions of our old standards that were originally written in 1994 with the federal government, when the federal government first recognized the fine arts as part of the core curriculum, necessary for the development of all our students.
About 30 seconds, James.
And they also began national testing at that time for the fine arts. According to Dr. Barrett, the new Common Core will incorporate all of these old standards and place added emphasis on the interconnected relationships of the arts. If this is the case, RB is already well ahead of the curve in instituting these new standards by requiring all of our students to take Fine Arts Survey. On a more personal note, I'm a community member and a teacher at RB because I was a student of RB. This community gave me so much. I want the children of our community to have the same access to the rich and rigorous curriculum that was here when I was a student, if not better.
3 minutes are off, please.
I believe that any change to this requirement is a giant step backwards, and I urge you to leave the Fine Arts Survey requirement as it stands. Thank you.
Anybody else on this side wants to speak? I'd like to remind everybody you have 3 minutes. Please show respect to this board and also respect to the people. When your 3 minutes are up, please, time for you to stop. Please state your name and address.
Jayden Cruz, 3436 Hollywood. As a student at RB, you hear many things about the course of Fine Arts Survey. You hear great things and not as desirable. Now, as a freshman, I personally, as Mr. Baum has said, had no recollection of why I would need to take Fine Arts Survey. Now, as a senior, taking it currently, I see the value of it. There are many things that you get from this class. You see the connections of everything. You see the connections of art, music, dance, and theater. With the standards that we have today, we seem to be above and beyond many other schools in the country. And as a student here and as a future alumni, I would hope that my school would like to stay that way. Keeping this class would be a great investment for our community, and I would like to personally ask for the board to keep the requirements as is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side? Please step up, state your name, where you're from.
Hello, my name is David Monreale. I live at 3410 Hollywood. Right here I have an email from, he was a graduate of RB. His name was Alex Banza, and he was a former drum major. And he's a graduate of Stanford, Bachelor of Arts, and he's a current student at Berkeley Law School. I understand that RBHS is considering changing the Fine Arts Survey graduation requirement. You asked me to submit comments regarding my thoughts on this proposal and my experience with Fine Arts Survey. I genuinely appreciate the opportunity to do so. Please find my thoughts and comments below. As an initial matter, RBHS does not stand alone, to my understanding, in considering a proposal to reduce the fine arts requirements. For example, my alma mater is currently undergoing a public soul-searching on what, if any, place fine arts and the humanities generally should have at a university renowned for its engineering and technology-focused programs. He then speaks of articles. They're stated, it's Stanford says everyone does and wants to convince the world, from the Stanford magazine, and what good are the humanities, why they clash with U.S. culture today, and why they matter, also by the Stanford magazine. Specifically, one of the proposals floated at Stanford is developing introductory survey-like fine arts and humanities courses. By taking these, Stanford believes that students would better understand the subject matter as a broad concept, which in turn better equips them to progress intelligently to more advanced courses, if there is interest. In other words, Fine Arts Survey appears substantially similar to the type of courses that Stanford wished it offered. I feel similarly about my experiences with Fine Arts Survey. I appreciated the opportunity to learn about the visual arts, drama, dance, and music. I appreciated that in one course I was given an introduction to all of these areas. While I may not have developed interest in every single area, I at least had the opportunity. Fine Arts Survey ensured I had that opportunity. In this global and increasingly competitive economy, subjects like the fine arts and humanities appear especially poised for the chopping block. Esoteric on the surface, unquantifiable benefits and actual costs once you dig deeper. This unduly restrictive financial view misses the point. I may never be able to quantify the benefit Fine Arts Survey gave to me, but I can say thus much: it was a benefit. And with my experience with the Fine Arts Survey class, I took it my freshman year, first semester. And I wasn't too sure about the class as well, as Jayden had stated previously.
30 seconds.
I took it mainly looking forward to the music section because I'm a band geek. And although I gained much knowledge from music and I loved it so much, I gained something from each subject field. I never thought that I'd be involved in theater, but now I'm part of the Shenanigans Improv Troupe. And just in general for the class, it's a semester class, and you're able to get
David, you're 3 minutes early.
You're able to get
You're 3 minutes early.
different experiences within the fields, and I feel that it's
You have 3
extremely
minutes.
important,
You're 3
especially
minutes
because
early,
with classes like this, you get the creativity
David,
that you
that's
cannot
3
get in
minutes
any
early.
classes that you have, such as English, math, reading, and science.
All
Thank
right,
you, David.
3 minutes early. Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Please step up. Please state your name.
Hello, my name is Colin Hughes. At the last meeting, I spoke in regards to the Fine Arts Survey and the waiver. I think that it's very important that the board and the school recognizes that some students do come into the school with a large knowledge of the fine arts. And while I'm not saying we know everything, because we certainly don't, and there's always more that you can learn, I think that we know enough where it's not necessarily the most important thing to have this semester-long requirement. What the Fine Arts Survey was set out to do was to interest kids into taking more fine arts classes in the fields that it represents. But what it sometimes does is force a student to choose between, say, an actual fine arts course or the Fine Arts Survey. So what was originally made out to interest kids in the Fine Arts Survey is now possibly making them drop a fine arts class. I know it's sad, but if the Fine Arts Survey remains in place and I can't pass the test, that's probably what I'd have to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side? Please step up. Like to remind you, you have 3 minutes. So.
Hi, my name is Daya Machlin from Brookfield. I'm a parent. My daughter graduated in 2006, took the Fine Arts Survey, and is now a working architect, having to sketch, having to do all sorts of things that have to do with the arts and the architecture. My son is a freshman. He's involved in the band program, and I would really hate to think that he wouldn't have the same opportunity as my daughter did many years ago. Depending on the decision, whether it's a waiver, whether it's not a requirement anymore, that changes things a little bit. So I would kind of reiterate what the gentleman before me said, that I really think it's important to keep the arts very present in the high school for the kids so they can take it on to their college years or into life in general.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else on this side? See anybody on this side? Please step up.
My name is John Fields. I'm a teacher at Riverside Brookfield High School, and also I was a member of the Graduation Requirements Committee. I was disappointed to hear it had been reported that the Riverside Brookfield High School Ad Hoc Graduation Requirements Committee had suggested that the school make it easier for students to waive the Fine Arts Survey class that is currently a graduation requirement during last month's board meeting. I was disappointed because as an actual member of that committee, this suggestion was fiction. At no point during any of the Graduation Requirements Committee meetings were teachers asked their opinions on any of the topics covered. We were merely asked to provide information on graduation requirements. A check of the minutes will bear this out. The notion that the committee suggested any such waiver is totally false and hurtful to those teachers who served on the committee. As a member of the committee, I do not and would not recommend any such waiver for fine arts. My opinion would have been expressed in the committee had I been given the opportunity to be a committee member rather than an information gatherer. The members of the Graduation Requirements Committee owe it to the community to deliver truthful information about our meetings, and any suggestion of a waiver proposed by the committee as a whole is false and misleading. Thank you.
Thank you,
All
John.
right, anybody else on this side that wants to speak up? Please step up.
My name is Rachel Bennett. I'm here to talk about how important the fine arts in general are to the entire school.
Rachel, where are you from?
129 East Burlington Street, Riverside. The fine arts are vitally important to this entire school. The music program has about 200 kids currently enrolled in any of their classes. A larger majority is the marching band, who have been very involved in the sports at this school this year. We've been at the been at the football games. We've marched at halftime. We've played in the stands, supporting the team for everything that they do. We also went to the soccer games this year for their playoff games. On a Saturday, not a school day, we went and we played for the team and cheered them on with the rest of the stands as a dedication on the fan bus. We also play this year and many other years at the basketball games in the stands and many other sports events. Also, the choir students go out and sing to the British Home. The madrigals do that, and many people, just as a voluntary thing, go and sing for the people who love to hear kids our age practicing and singing music and performing and sharing their gift with everybody. It's not only a creative outlet, but a wholesome department with dedicated students Many which students currently enrolled wish to major or minor in their current field or study that they want to pursue, like singing, band, specific instrument. They also want to draw or like maybe do photography for newspapers or magazines. Many of the students currently are pursuing scholarships because they want to expand their knowledge in here. And plus, with the scholarships, if you cut certain things in the fine arts department, people will not be able to get the scholarships that they want. Me, myself, I want to be a musical theater major, also want to be in the performing arts. Currently, we only have one musical every other year, and that strongly affects me because, and many other students in the musical theater program, because it's so important to us that we have that kind of practice before college, that if we want to pursue these kind of things, we don't have those chances here at RB, and this is such a great school, and we should have these kind of creative outlets for all the students who want to pursue these kinds of things.
Rachel, you got about 30 seconds.
Okay. One of the students here at RB went to pursue his talent as a dancer and went to be on Broadway in West Side Story, which is such above and beyond commitment to the arts. And he even came back here and shared a story with everybody. I just have to say that the fine arts is so important, and if you cut it, many students and parents will be hurt by this. We all care deeply about this, and we want you all to respect what we have to share in our gifts.
Thank you, Rachel.
Anybody else on this side want to speak? Please step up, state your name.
My name is Joe Warner. I'm from Riverside. I was the one of the community representatives on the committee, the Graduation Requirements Committee. And there's been a lot of talk about what was said and not said, and what was the consensus and not the consensus. So I felt that it was would be useful to give my take on it and try to clear some things up. And in preparing for that, I took a look at the tape, and what Laura had said, she used the word consensus, but what I believe she said was there was a consensus that people wanted to keep the class, and which I believe to be true. Again, it was said that there was no vote taken and there was no specific input and or mandate laid out to vote on. So whether there was a consensus or not is all conjecture by everyone. So first of all, that's the initial fact. Secondly, I do think that there was, just my opinion, I think there was a consensus that everybody thought it was a great class and that there was a lot of merit to it. One of the things to consider is that the class encouraged and developed creative thinking, and the current academic philosophy, I believe you learned at the Western Suburban Conference, was that creative thinking is the highest level thinking at this point, and that's one of the things that this class does, is it teaches creative thinking. So it is a class that we happen to be at the forefront of, and a lot of other schools, including the Chicago Public Schools, are going to try to emulate that. So there's a lot. It's a wonderful class. I think that the consensus was that it's a wonderful class. There's a lot of good things and a lot of reasons why we should keep it. And in terms of keeping it, I don't think that anybody's saying that we should eliminate the class. I think the question is whether or not you're allowing a waiver. And the waiver, the subtlety that wasn't brought up last meeting and it hasn't been brought up tonight is, do you waiver it or do you test out of it? And the issue in my mind, and one of the things that was discussed in the committee was is that students should be allowed to, as with any course, to test out of it. If you come into RB and you can do Spanish 1, you test out of it, you take Spanish 2. Well, if you can come in, you can show proficiency, then you should be allowed to test out of the Fine Arts Survey. And I do believe, we talked about that, and we never confirmed whether or not that was true in the committee, but we do believe that you can test out of it. And with that in place, if a student comes in...
30 seconds left.
30 seconds? Okay. With that in place, if a student can come in and test out of it, that's acceptable. If they can show proficiency, as with anything, whether it's a language or anything else, they should be allowed, and I do believe that they are allowed to test out of it. If they can't test out of it, then the waiver, in my opinion, probably should not be allowed. Is not a good thing to do, And I don't know if there's a consensus or not. I don't think we ever really discussed it enough to know if there's a consensus. So,
Joe, you're 3 minutes up. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Anybody else want to speak on this side? Nobody? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the visitor statements and we'll move to consent agenda. Payment, what, do you want to speak? All right, we'll let you. All right, please state your name and address.
Anna Menendez, 1137 Ostrander, LaGrange Park, Illinois. I'm speaking on the account of the fine arts survey requirement. Fine arts survey, I took it my freshman year, and when I first was told that, you know, you have to take the class, I thought, oh, I really don't want to take it, you know. I'm so involved in music. I do band, choir, a million other things in the music department. And I was not open to taking it. But after I took it, I learned so much from the different aspects. In theater, I learned about theory of the theater. As my teacher taught it to me, it was the suspension of disbelief. When you're in theater, you know, you have to make sure the audience sees that you can convince them to do it, and then you dangle them on a suspension of disbelief, and then at the end you cut the string, and that's the play. And seeing that, I thought, oh, that's really neat. This year I was able to use it for my AP Lit exam, or not my exam, a practice exam, and it helped me so much in that aspect. As for art, I learned different techniques for drawing and stuff. Now, I can't draw to save my life. That's more of my mother's side. But working with art and learning about lines, it helped me in geometry. You know, parallel lines have to be perfectly straight. Angles need to be perfect. And in dance, I learned how to tell a story. I remember a couple weeks ago sitting at home studying for AP West test, and I thought, how am I going to remember all this stuff? This stuff is insane. And then I thought, I'll make a dance. So I made a dance, and I aced the test. It's an extreme example, but it worked. So fine arts, it relates to all the aspects of school. It helps students take a break from their crazy AP schedules and have a relaxing period. Finally, I have a word. My mother told me that in Guelph University, it's up in Canada, it's one of the top 5 schools probably in North America. She said in Guelph University, it's predominantly a science school. She went there for her bachelor's in physiology. She was required to take a year-long fine arts survey course. So she got to examine different things and different aspects.
And I got 30 seconds left.
Thank you. And she got to examine aspects. And she got to take this course on anatomy and drawing. And now because she took that course and she had the fine arts survey, she is now a true Renaissance woman. She's a genius, she's an artist, and now she's trying to learn how to play the oboe. So I asked you, the board, to please keep the fine arts survey requirement. It's very important to us. There's so many students here that want to see it happen, and there's so many students that aren't here but want it so badly.
Anna, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna.